Bigfoot, Dogman, Jersey Devil, and others. Are they real? Figments of our imagination? Or the most cleverly disregarded reality of all time? Come into the cabin. Let's sit down and find out together. Hey, welcome back to the cabin. I'm Johnny. I got you on that one, didn't I?
Almost.
I'm Robbie, and
I'm Johnny.
I got to keep you on your toes, Johnny. If I don't keep you guessing and keep you on your toes,
You make my head hurt.
well, Johnny, we got some guests in the studio or in the cabin. See, we're not in the studio. We're in a cabin. We got some guests in the cabin tonight.
Yes, we do.
We got. I have to call you by your first name. I never called you by your first name ever.
I think it'd be weird if you did.
So I'm going to just say Coppin.
That works.
And listen. And they saw something last night. It was pretty interesting. So
I can't wait to hear about it.
So I know this is y'all's first time, so just, I mean, it is what it is. It's just like sitting around a campfire talking. So don't, just. I'm not telling you to say whatever comes to your mind, Coppin, because I know you.
Yeah, don't do that.
So, engage the filter
Oh, yeah.
for a little bit. I might need to tell you that too, Nancy.
Double filter.
Yeah. So we had like 2 instances.
Just let us know.
Last night.
Let's keep it PG, kids.
So I was on duty, right? And pulled over to the gas station to take a break after a call. And Alex is at the gas station and comes up to my patrol car and talks to me. It's like, what, 9:30?
Ish.
Like 9:30-ish. And while I'm talking to him, sitting in my vehicle, I see this bright light. It was so bright, it looked like almost like a North Star bright. Unusual enough for me to draw my eyes like away from talking to Coppin. I was like, what the?
And that's saying something to draw your eyes away from Coppin. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, he is a specimen.
So it averted my attention. I was like, what is that? And I saw this bright light. Like I said, it was moving. I think it was moving like northeast. And it had 4 smaller lights lined, like spaced evenly underneath it, to where the large light was on top and the 4 lights were spaced out evenly underneath the bright light. And it was almost tilted at an angle to where it was moving all as one object northeast.
So let's get the question or the whatever everybody's, because you know what most people are going to say, John. Oh, it was shape-wise, color-wise, all that stuff. Was it anything like any airplane or any aircraft you've ever seen?
No, as soon as I saw it, I was a full believer. I was like,
So
what?
this was not something that when you looked at it you had to say,
No.
Oh, God,
maybe
no.
that's a plane.
No. This was
automatically-
nothing that we had made. It was nothing. It was huge.
It was just like automatically when you looked at it, you knew that it was not.
It was non-human.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, she looks over my shoulder, and it's just the face she made. I was just like, what? So I turn around and look. I don't see anything. And then she's like, no, up there. And I turn and look. And when I turn and look from the angle that I was at, I had trees and a street light. She was behind me this direction, so she could see above the top of the trees. I was standing in front of her, so I was looking at the top of the trees, so I couldn't see it right above them. But I saw a big white light, and it was bright. And it was like she was saying, like North Star bright, but not like, how far the North Star looks.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
You can tell it's
almost
bright,
It was
but it's
closer
you
for
can tell
sure.
it's
distance almost.
Yeah.
Is what it felt like. And I saw that, and she kept freaking out. She's like, look. And I'm like, that? What do you mean? What about it? And then it starts moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of just
Yeah.
gone.
Like the 4 bottom lights from left to right slowly dissipated, and then the bright light completely it all vanished. It was maybe 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, it
By
was
the time
fast.
I could get out of my car and really almost reach for my camera, it was over with. And I was looking around. I was like, no way, nobody else was looking up and saw this. It was ginormous. There was no noise. There was no sound. For as close and as large as it was, you should have heard something. And it was, if I had to guess, I would say it was at least a football field. It was huge.
So from like the you said there's like one central light on top, and then there's 4 underneath it. So from
Yes.
the one light on the bottom to the up to the furthest most light from that, and you're talking about
Yeah, as
football.
soon as I had
Imagine,
got done,
imagine like a triangle.
I
Like,
saw this. This
light
is
up top.
as
and
soon
Kind of
as
a
it happened.
pyramid with a
I
base.
went to my notes
Basically.
and drew what I saw.
yeah. I got the picture. So that's
Yeah.
but for everybody that can't see that picture, like I've seen the picture you drew, like Coppin was just saying, the top light is like the point of the triangle.
Right. It looked like a triangle, and the brightest light was on the top, and a little ways down, evenly spaced, were the 4 lights that were moving all together. It was unreal.
Johnny, does that sound like anything you've ever heard anybody talk about?
I'm sorry I missed it. I live on a mountain, and I was out till 11 o'clock last night feeding critters. And I know where the full moon comes out, and that's roughly east for me. You've been there.
Yeah.
Trees would have blocked my view of this. So
Yeah.
it was low. Was it low in the horizon or high?
It was lower than I thought
Which
it would
gas
have
station
been.
were you at? Because I don't
We
know.
were at Spinks on Jill Street,
Yeah, that exactly what. Yeah, exactly
Okay.
where you're talking
so it
about.
would have been like more towards Overwood Mill Church area.
So it would have been further away from you than what they're talking.
But the trees are 30 foot tall there
Yeah.
ish.
Right.
Right. I had to move more towards, like it was all visual, and I was able to see the whole thing. And then it started to go behind the trees. So when I got out of my car to run past the trees, like where Woodrow is, to continue to see it, and then I saw it come out of the trees, and then it started to disappear.
So now, I've talked with both y'all before. I mean, and y'all have had paranormal type experiences before. Was this the first extraterrestrial experience that?
No.
She's seen things, or she said she's seen things, and but the way she reacted to this one, you could tell it was like the one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was,
Because
as we like to call,
'cause
paradigm
She
shift.
was like losing her mind over. She got out of her car, walked across the parking lot, trying to find it again. I'm like, you're not gonna find it. It faded off. So I'm gonna see it
I
again.
was in shock.
And then I was like, and here's the best part. You're gonna go tell all your friends. You know what they're gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guy. Sure.
No one's gonna
Whatever,
believe you.
guy. Sure.
Probably why
So it was an airplane.
probably
Good
why I
job
was the-
seeing an airplane.
Probably why I was the first one she called then.
Yeah, I called
Yeah.
you, and I called my
Yeah.
boss. I was like, listen, you won't believe what I just saw, but I can't focus. I am literally in shock what I just saw and experienced. And I was like, it sounds crazy, but I can't believe what. Let me just try to wrap my mind around what I saw and explain it to somebody.
And this is something that we've talked about before, Johnny. When, you know, as an adult, when you see something like it that starts that paradigm shift, it's hard to wrap your mind around it. I feel like if I hadn't have had my Bigfoot encounter when I was a kid, I feel like I would be like you are right now. But I've had so much time to process it, and as a child, you know, your mind is a lot more flexible, and it's easier for you to believe stuff like that. So I've had a lot of time to process it. So it's not as much as I still wrestle with with the people calling you crazy and all that stuff. Because that's, for 40 years, I never said anything to anybody until, obviously until I met DA and started being a co-host on
That's
DA
what
Ex
I was
Machina.
explaining to her. She was looking at me like I was smoking a cigarette, and she's just like, "Is that not amazing to you? Did you not find that amazing?" I'm like, "I've been watching UFO stuff since I was a child. I've been staring at the sky my entire life. I've seen all kinds of neat things in the sky over the years. So no, this one's not that crazy. I'm to the point in my life now, I'm just like, land, that'll make me go ooh ah."
Until you
know
get to
what I
go
mean?
for the ride.
Right, exactly. Until I'm like in a spaceship, it's not really going to be all that amazing.
And that's the same thing, Johnny. When we were up there at our spot where we do our investigation, and we saw that thing up on top of the hill, we really didn't react. It's like you were like, "Hey, you see that up there?" I'm like, "Yeah." What color you see? Well, I see this color. What color you see? We were having just like Coppin saying, it's just like a candid conversation about it. Whereas, anybody else is looking up the top of the hill and seeing what they think might be a Bigfoot. They'd be like,
It's like desensitized to the
"Yeah,
whole
it's
thing.
exactly." And that's you're in that now, Lindsay. Where you're,
Congratulations.
yeah, welcome to the club.
Welcome
because
aboard.
I mean, I wasn't.
Yeah,
I
welcome
like
aboard.
fully believe in the spirits and everything, but like, I was open-minded to the extraterrestrials, but when I saw what I saw last night, I was like, man, they're here.
You know, it's like you and I talked on the phone last night. You know, when you called and was telling me about this, I told you, you know, it's hard for me to accept when there are people who say, yeah, I believe in aliens, but no, I don't believe in Bigfoot, or I don't believe in, you know, ghosts. Right? How can you, you know, believe that something like aliens exist,
Right.
and you can turn around and say something like Bigfoot or Dogman doesn't exist?
Yes,
And
too
conversely,
far-fetched.
it like
Right.
me, where I've never seen any kind of UFO type thing, but I'm not going to look at you and say, "Nah, you're crazy," you know, because that's really hypocritical of
Yeah, it
people
is.
to have that. Because if one can exist, the other can exist.
Right, you can't just pick and choose on
Exactly.
which one's your
Yeah.
favorite. They either
I
exist
mean,
or they.
yes, you can.
Yeah,
well,
you-
I guess you could.
You can pick your favorite, but you can't pick and say this one exists, but there's no possibility for this one to exist. But I believe this one exists, but I don't believe this one exists because
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've had people like that all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had I think I reached out to you months ago, back when him and I were partners. You know, we're out here 12 hours a night, multiple times a night,
Oh yeah, that one.
and that's all we see. We're out here at nighttime. That's our daytime, and we looked up at the sky, and
That one was neat.
yeah,
that one was
it
different.
was. It
Yeah,
was
I
odd.
remember
It was it was like a light that was too high to be a drone or anything. It wasn't blinking, and it was
No
just
noise.
moving.
It was so low that if it had been a drone of the size that it was, you would have heard it. You know,
Yeah.
all of them hum, and then the bigger they get, the louder the hum. Obviously, there's more rotors on there and all that. That one was neat. That one went back, forth, left, right, up, down, all over the place, and then all of a sudden it just wasn't there, and then it was
Yeah.
back again. That was neat. And then later not that night, but later the night after the initial UFO thing, I sent you that other video.
Last night.
Yeah.
So last night after 9:30, when I told you when I initially we saw together the big, I'm assuming it was just a giant ship. Well, it was around 5 a.m. He's getting ready, come in to relieve me, asked me what had happened on my shift, and I'm sitting across from Spinks. What do you know it? And he's on the phone and says, "Are you outside? Look up." And I looked up, and we're both explaining what we're seeing, about towards the northwest side. I'll let you finish out what you were like trying to tell me. Like, look up, look.
Oh yeah, I was just like, well, I saw a star, and I saw another star right below it. I was like, okay, stars, cool. And I was just kind of looking in that direction, just talking on the phone, and then the bottom star, I believe it was the bottom star, what I thought was a star, just kind of moved out from underneath that star. And
And
then
this is the video that you sent me.
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
it kind of just like moved out from underneath it, like it was like undocking or something. You know what I mean? And then it just followed the curvature of the Earth, like it's like in like low Earth orbit, just kept going, and then eventually just kind of like dimmed out and went away.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it followed.
But it went from stationary.
Yeah,
was
it went from
like-
completely
And
stationary.
then it just
like I
started-
thought it was just part of a constellation. It was a star and a star. And I'm sitting there talking on the phone, and all of a sudden, as I'm looking that direction, it just goes, and then just starts going. I'm like, well, that's odd.
Yeah, we got it on video, man.
That yeah.
And
That's,
you know the flight path of ISS. You know the flight paths of all the satellites.
Right.
They don't change.
No.
right.
They declinate a little bit, but
Yeah, but I don't think they go,
no, not 90 degrees.
No, yeah.
and go all the way back around and back around. I'm like, yeah, that's okay, cool. I've seen a lot of shooting stars too, and that was not it.
No.
Most shooting stars don't go.
Right? Yeah, they don't go. Yeah, they
It
just
was
kind of
definitely
shoot
like
over
the
and be
two
over.
lights were interacting
But it
with
was
each
it
other.
was too slow
and they
to be
were
anything weird.
They would
like,
move slow, and then they would just like move at an opposite angle at a fast pace.
Yeah.
It was unreal, and it wasn't like anything a satellite could do from what I'm aware of.
Well, you're
And-
not a satellite scientist.
Right, I'm not a satellite scientist, but like it was an extraordinary experience to see.
Yeah, it was odd.
It
A
was just
handful of
weird
hours
that
after
I-
seeing the other thing.
Yeah, we both
Yeah.
saw that together, and then we're on
Yeah.
the phone later on. What do we know? He's like, "Wow, look up!" But I'm like, "Are you serious
That
again?"
to me, that's one of the most intriguing things about this is, Lindsay sees this at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and then 5 o'clock the next morning, they both see something else roughly in the same area.
Yeah.
You're tagged.
It makes me feel like something
yeah,
was
yeah,
happening
great.
last night. Yeah, and
Lindsay-
it was cloudy for the rest of the night for the most part.
Lindsay's gonna get beamed up.
The next time, you are going for that ride.
Oh man, that'd be kind of neat.
How you like probes, good buddy?
Probes, you know, it depends on
Don't
the size.
ask him that question.
You know. Yeah, I just hope
don't
that I get.
don't
to,
answer that one,
okay.
Coppin.
Just be gentle.
Yeah, gentle. So, you know, Coppin said he's had these experiences. What, and I know you ran a whole spectrum of emotions, Lindsay, but what what was the first thought that run through your head after you processed and said, okay, I'm not looking at an airplane, I'm looking at what I think is a UFO, spaceship, whatever you want to say. What was the first?
To start, her facial expression. Have you ever?
You describe that.
Have you ever
Coppin.
driven on a road at night and then a deer kind of like stops in the middle of the road and turns and looks at you, just confused and frightened at the same time? That. And then, you know, freaking out and stuff. You know,
Like
so-
my initial thought was, what is that? And then it just clicked. I was like, I know exactly what that is. There's no denying it.
So, was it more of an excitement? Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Or
There's some
Yeah.
fear there.
okay, so it was
There's
a
some
mixture
fear.
of excitement and fear.
I'm definitely I'm more open-minded towards the concept. Like I said, I think everybody's right. They're already here from what I saw, and two occurrences in the same night.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was telling you, you can go outside and look up. Within 20 minutes, you'll see 4 or 5 of these little lights that are not blinking, moving too fast to be a satellite, moving on the outskirts, and just at odd patterns in the sky. 10 or 12 years ago, that's all I did as a kid. I looked up the sky, I looked for constellations. Never saw anything like that, and now it's just an ordinary thing. It is often like, how many times do you go outside in 2 nights? Well, I'm talking this guy right here, and we happen to see both incidents.
I just can't wait to
It's probably
say it.
Coppin that's tagged,
That's
and not
cool.
Lindsay,
Could be actually. Yeah.
which wouldn't surprise me.
I had some weird things happen.
Yes. Well, you're a weird guy, so you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing is, you
Maybe
know
I
the
am
flight
really.
paths out of GSP. You know the flight paths out of Charlotte. We know the flight paths around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's unless it's going to the little county airport, and that's going to be weird up here. You know what does and does not belong.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and you couple that with the fact that you've seen airplanes and helicopters your whole life. You know that they blink. You know that they have red and blue lights or white lights. You know the generalized shape of a plane and a helicopter, a Learjet, etc. You know, but when it's just a dot, and then there's other dots, and like you know the shape of a plane, and then you see that, and you're just
How did you base your
Foreign.
size on a football field? How did you base that?
It was extremely large, and like he said, I believe it was closer than it.
it was really close.
It was really
weird.
close, and for as close as and as large as it was, we should have been able to hear something. By the way it was moving, it was crazy. I would just guess it was the size of a football field. By the way it was moving, as low as it was, but you know it was lower than an airplane would be. But it's just really hard to explain unless you just saw it.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, what looked like a football field to you, Coppin, you may have looked at
Right.
it and judged it different. But
It's hard to
depends on-
judge distance
yeah,
when you're talking
it-
about an extraterrestrial
well, especially
sighting.
at night too.
At night,
and you
clouds,
don't
just
Right.
lights.
you don't have you two are probably not going to look at the same point of reference to compare it to. So
Have
Yeah.
either of y'all ever seen the Phoenix lights? Wasn't that back in '97? Ish.
ish, somewhere around
Look
there.
up the Phoenix lights and see what y'all think. I ain't gonna front load you with nothing. Just watch the Phoenix lights.
Okay.
It's cool. The governor
Yeah.
commented on it. Now they came back the next day and they did some
scrubbing,
yeah.
But-
Swamp gas.
scrubbing some things
Phoenix
clean.
Lights.
Actually, what happened was an airbag deployed
Yeah.
somewhere.
So, like I said before, though, y'all have had paranormal experiences. You've had plenty of UFO experiences, you said.
I've been staring at
But
that stuff all over.
obviously, even with all your paranormal experience, that's nothing compared to, because I can tell, you know, I've known you a long time. I've never seen you as excited or as flabbergasted, I guess.
Oh
be,
yeah, yeah. No,
about.
it was.
I mean, because we've had these conversations plenty of times before, and you're just so matter of fact about the paranormal part of things, like kind of like he is about the UFO. So that paradigm shift, you know, it's like,
Bazinga.
wow, because I mean, it's kind of like when me and you talk about Bigfoot. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, there's this, and this. But now I would probably be the same way if I had a paranormal experience, because that would shift my world.
I would be that way if I saw Bigfoot.
Yeah,
You know.
but see, it's that
There's a lot of evidence for thousands of years about Bigfoot. It's just I haven't seen anything.
Just seeing it
anything
firsthand
that.
changes
But
your
if I'd have seen
perspective.
something like that, yeah,
Well-
that would have been like, wow.
But right before y'all came in, I'll show you some pictures. Well, you saw the picture. Don't say anything about it on here, but you saw
Yeah,
the
I
picture
saw
that,
'em.
and there's no gray area as to what that picture is. I mean,
no.
you
Especially
immediately
as a cop, you're like, oh wow, that's exactly what I think
you
it is.
immediately came back with what that was. I'll show you the picture unless she's already showed it. Okay, I'll show you when we leave. But that's the thing about it. You know, when I looked at that picture, I was like, oh, cool. That's a really good one. And same thing with John. We were comparing it to the track that we found, and you know, thinking of, okay, this is this and this is this and this compares here and this compares there and da da. But whereas she was just mesmerized on the fact that, oh my God,
Yeah.
because even if you're open to everything, like, you know, I'm open to the fact that aliens exist, even though I haven't seen it. I'm open to the fact that paranormal exists, even though I haven't ever seen it. See the look on his face?
Yeah.
That's that shift.
Have you shown him the
Yeah.
video I sent you?
Oh yeah, I showed him the video, the second video with the lights and everything. Yeah, he was like, ooh.
That was the 5:30 one. That
Yeah.
You videoed?
Yeah, it was this morning. This is the second experience
What did
just
that?
last
Where
night.
did this measure?
Well, the card that you showed the picture with
I'm showing it to him
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
the business card, standard business
Like
card.
3 inches.
So 2.5, 3 inch business card. What did we say?
It's over a size 20 shoe.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow.
Tyler wears 18, so
I do what now?
he wears a size 18. We put up 4.5
4.5
business cards, and it was bigger than his foot, which is a size 18.
Send that to me and I'll accurately scale it tomorrow.
Oh, so, but I mean, that's the same. It's the same reaction. He had the same reaction to that I'm sure you had to what you
That's-
saw last night.
That's cool.
So, is there anything that when you look at that picture, Cop, and what else? What that screams what it is, right?
Yeah.
There's like two or three.
There's like toe impressions,
Mhm.
even. You know what I mean?
You can clearly see. If you blow it up, you can see where there's stuff that's mashed down and then
Yeah.
stuff in between.
Now, I will say that my father's a believer of Bigfoot. He's had a sighting himself. We have an old family friend who travels from here to North Carolina to Texas. I can't be sure to remember what state he was in when he came across it, but he found one and he was able to get a casting of it.
Well, if it hadn't started raining right after that, he would have got a cast. That would have been probably one of the best
Yeah.
casts that I've ever seen. I mean, there's just, when you see something like that, like you saw last night, to where it's just irrefutable,
Right.
that somebody can't, I mean,
Right.
show the other
They're aware of
Yeah.
us too.
yeah, well, just like on the show the other night, we had somebody was like, oh, well, that's a work boot.
Right. And something that is somewhat intelligent is probably trying to avoid us.
But
It
that,
like narrowed at the arch and everything.
that was on a 45-degree incline, hard packed soil, and is about an inch to an inch and a half deep impression. Now,
The weight.
Yeah. So that's something big and heavy that stood there for a while and
Oh,
watched
yeah.
their cabin.
Oh, it was near a cabin.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat.
Yep.
Game cameras.
DA got up one morning and just looked out at him and his wife were celebrating their 30th anniversary in Gatlinburg, and got up one morning, have his coffee, and looked out and looked down and saw that. I mean, that he was on the back deck, which was 15 feet off the ground, and that's how clear and distinct it was. He could look down and see it
Yeah.
and tell what it was from there.
I think there's just so much out there that you really just have to almost be more aware of your surroundings. Because when I looked around, what I saw last night, nobody was looking up.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I was
and here's the thing,
oblivious.
and
That was the funniest thing.
it really works for the UFO thing too. But look at it, and we've talked about this, Johnny. You know, when you had the Black Plague of the 21st century, that everybody was home and nobody was out doing anything, and everybody was out in the woods, and nobody was, you know, how long does it take nature to take back over a place that doesn't have humans involved in it?
not long.
I mean, how many abandoned houses do the three of us drive by every day that, you know, within a couple weeks, you couldn't even see the house if nobody's taking care of it? I mean, we see, and that's in the city. We
Yeah.
see that. Think about some of these remote places. Like I've said, there is 87 million acres of national forest in this country, and that's just national. That doesn't even count the state farms or the state parks. 87 million acres. What can hide in 87 million acres?
Anything.
A lot. So the thing is, when people are out and going, because camping and outdoor recreational, what do we say, $30 billion a year industry, Johnny?
It was crazy.
$30 billion a year industry. So COVID was what, 2.5 years that people were, oh, we're locked down, we can't do anything. So you take 2.5 years and have humans out of the mix, nature, and not just Bigfoot, not just cryptids, all nature. I mean, there are bears and cougars showing up on Ring doorbell cameras in Springfield, Missouri, in suburbia. I mean, in the big cities. So nature does not take long to come back in when there's no human interaction to push them away. So you couple that with people being out, and like you said, people not being aware of their surroundings, that situational awareness.
Oh yeah, she keeps saying that, but it really was like a scene in a movie. She was wandering around the parking lot, staring up into the sky. I'm like 20 feet away from her, watching her do it, as all these people are walking to their cars, into the gas station, to their cars, into the gas station. It was
Not even aware that
it was
I was
comical.
like freaking out.
It was comical because she's sitting there and she's obviously, something's wrong. And just looking at her, just the way she's wandering around, looking around almost like a crazy person, really. Just the way she was just like hyper focused on the sky, and then you got these people just walking by her, and they don't even know she's there. And I'm
Right.
like, maybe look at what she's looking at. I don't know what to tell you. Like, well, okay, and this is why. Okay.
But you're right, Cop, and that's
fine.
and it's the same way. Once you've seen something like that, you can't unsee it. It's just like, you know, the Bigfoot thing. When Johnny and I go in the woods, we're going to see stuff that we've seen before, and we know, okay, we're going to see stuff that other people going in the woods are not going to look at, because we know what we're looking for, and not that we're experts or anything, but once you've seen, you ever bought a car, and after you buy that car, you drive down the road, and
You see
every
400 of
freaking car you see is that same car. It's the same thing, because your mind is now
You're looking for it.
exactly, you're looking for it. Your mind, the human brain is amazing how it works, and that's why we're able to pick stuff out like that. If we know what we're looking for, and you go in, your mind is already looking for the abnormalities. So once you know what you're looking for, and your brain has gotten past
Right.
that,
Selective.
yeah. Once your brain gets past that plateau, it's just like working out. You know this, Cop, and if you hit that plateau, you have to change things up. You're not going to continue to grow. It's the same thing with your mind. When your mind hits that plateau, oh yeah, this doesn't happen. This is not real. This can't exist. But once you you open yourself up to that, and once you've seen something, then everything else is just like, oh, well, yeah. I remember the first time I learned about tree structures, and I know there's still people that say, oh, that's snow load, that's weather, that's this, that's that. But as somebody who spent my entire life in the woods hunting, fishing, things like that, I can't tell you how many of these things that I saw as a kid, and that had no clue what I was looking at. But now that I know that that's a possibility, that's something that Bigfoot does, now I can see a tree structure now, as where before it was just like, oh, there's a tree laying over, or there's this tree, and I didn't look at the things like, okay, this thing's uprooted and hung upside down 3.5 feet off the ground. As to where before, you're like, wow, I wonder what caused that. Now it's like, gee, I wonder how they hung it up there. I hate to keep going back and sounding like a broken record. It's that paradigm shift, because you're now conditioned to look for this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing now that every time you look up, it's just like when I went to my tracker school. I don't know if I told y'all this, but when I finished, the guy said, congratulations, you'll never look at the ground the same way again.
Oh, yeah.
You're never going to look at the sky the same way again now.
And I'm out here working nights now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know I'll be looking.
Am I right, Cop? And now that she's actually seen something like that, you're never going to look at the sky the same way again, because you're always going to be looking for those abnormalities, those, there's billions of lights up there in the sky, but now you know.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was camoufaged by the way
But you know
the
what the
lights
difference
were.
is now. You saw it.
I saw it,
So now when you're looking, you're going to always be looking for those little differences. And you're going to start spotting things now that you weren't able to see before. Just like me, Johnny and I, when we're looking in the woods and looking for tracks and looking for, tree breaks and things like that, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I caught myself today. I was sitting easily working, and I'm looking down the road, and I was reading a Mirage, and I'm looking at it, and I said, we got a 3 to 5 crosswind there, full value. You can't, once you see stuff like that, you can't get away from it.
Johnny's a bit of a long distance shooter.
Let's see.
In the city.
Yeah.
It was crazy though. Yeah. That's
Well,
you can't unsee it.
no, you
No.
can't.
No.
I'm glad y'all came in and told your story. That's a dang interesting story.
That was a cool video.
Yeah. And next time we do one of those type shows on DX Machina, if y'all don't mind, I'll give that to DA, let him show that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Imagine if you'd have been somewhere where you didn't have light pollution,
Yes.
which you could have got.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was right. Sphinx is really bright too. And
Oh
it
God.
just
Stewart,
creates like somewhat
It's
this
still
aura
solid.
where you can everything's kind of somewhat. It's just not as
Haze.
awesome as it seeing it with your own eyes versus let me zoom in on my camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a couple people I'd showed the video and they weren't able to see, the second star. I was like, you're looking at this bright one. Look over to the left and watch this one.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, when they watched it the second time, were like, wow.
That's odd.
Yes.
I want to see that again out in the
Stars
parking lot
do that.
because I saw it in this room. I want to see it in a dimmer environment.
We'll look at it when we go out.
Outside of the cabin.
Outside of the cabin. Lindsay, Coppin, I'm glad y'all stopped by.
No problem, man.
It was a good show.
Definitely.
Johnny, you got anything else?
I got to go feed pigs. They're going to be squealing at me when I get there.
They're always squealing at you, though.
Yeah, they like me.
Well, folks, if you want to get in touch with us, we got the Facebook page, What's Really Out There. Coppin and Lindsay are both members of that page, too. But we got people monitoring that all the time. Our Facebook page is What's Really Out There. Catch us on YouTube, What's Really Out There. Our email address is what's really out there 2022@gmail.com. If you got any stories or like Coppin and Lindsay, if you want to come into the studio, get with us. If you just want to send it to us.
Kevin.
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at you and I was thinking studio, Coppin. Thank you for catching
It's
me.
a fancy cabin.
Yeah. Coppin's a fancy guy, so, But, if y'all want to come back sometime and talk about some of your paranormal stuff.
I'd like to talk to you at some point about, what I saw in my room.
Yeah. And, that invitation is open. I know you've gotten some paranormal stuff to
Yeah.
talk about, but
Probes.
yeah, y'all come back anytime and definitely, because I've told you what she's talking about there, but you might not remember it right off. But she had kind of a weird
Cool.
experience, really
Oh, yeah,
weird.
it's
She
terrifying.
she called me pretty
I
freaked
now
out about
sleep
that
with the
one.
lights on.
I missed that.
The shadow person.
Oh, sweet.
Like
So-
the
Defined.
shadow person.
We'll
Yeah.
we'll set that for another episode. I think that would be a good one for y'all to come back
Yeah.
and talk about, because we can get a good show out of that one, I think.
Yeah.
But I appreciate y'all coming to the cabin. Said it that time, Coppin. Appreciate y'all coming to the cabin and talking and telling your story. Johnny, you still got your smoke signals and everything up yet, or are you still
No,
working on it? Carrier
no,
pigeons?
No, and well, yeah, because the telegraph thing requires, like the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to the pigeons.
Okay. So nobody shooting them or anything?
We do live in redneck land.
That's true. They have no idea about the inside jokes of that. See, we got the technical way to communicate with us with all the, but Johnny does the smoke signals and the carrier pigeons. He's trying to work on the telegraph, but like you said, it's just not working.
Infrastructure. Damn it, Biden.
Thanks, bud.
There's extraterrestrials might be intercepting the pigeons.
Could be.
And see, dove season ain't till in the fall, so my birds are good.
Isn't
Yeah.
there a conspiracy that pigeons are CIA drones? Have you ever seen a pigeon, a baby pigeon?
Never.
Me neither.
Ah,
Oh, there's something there.
Coppin's onto something here.
Mm-hmm. They're drones. They're like some kind of little ornithopter
Have you ever
drones.
seen a baby pigeon?
There's a clothing company called Birds Are Not Real,
Yep.
and it's all about. Hey, he knows what I'm talking about. It's all about that. I hate that word. Theory. It's all about a theory.
I've been on top of the Hyatt. I've done all their chillers and stuff downtown. I've been all over the rooftops in Greenville. Where do the birds congregate? Cities. I've never seen one nest. I've seen where they roost and where they post up. They put those little spikes so the birds can't light up on, the edges. But I've never seen a pigeon nest ever. 20 years on Greenville rooftops.
Yeah.
Saying
Explain
something.
that one, guy.
Can't explain it. I never heard it or never thought about it, but
Really?
you got a good point.
It's been around a while.
Mm-hmm.
I've always
Well-
entertained it.
I'm more of the cryptid guy than I am
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, 'cause I'm sure I could throw some cryptid stuff at you that you probably never heard. That's funny.
It's legit.
Birds are not real.
Yeah. And they're all about it.
But and like I said, now that that paradigm shift has happened, just know that you're never going to look at the sky the same again. Just like
Oh, I'm already like waiting for it to just be on the news and be like, well,
and then
here's
you
our alien meeting our president.
and you're going to be
I've
like,
been
see,
waiting like 20 years
I
for
knew
that.
it.
This
Yeah.
is unfair because it's going to happen in like 3 days for you, and I've been waiting like 20 years for it to happen.
Probably.
Unfair.
And
Not
all these
fair.
closed-minded people are going to be
Life's
like,
not
oh,
fair,
wow.
Coppin.
Not fair.
Life
This
is
whole time.
not fair.
She's going to be like, look, I told you so. I'll be like, you told me so. Okay. All right.
All right, guys, that's all the time we got for the cabin tonight. So we'll see you next time.
Adios.
Bye.
Amigos.